here. Hello again, everyone. It's Henry here, and it's time for yet another canoe trip in 2026. This time I'm headed to the French River, and I'm going around 18 Mile Island. So this is a shorter trip. It's planned for 3 days and 2 nights. I'm going in at a commercial campground, park my car, and head out from there. And each day is about 25 kilometers. Got a couple of portage today. I got 7 tomorrow, and then nothing at all on day 3. So that's sort of the plan. If you watched my last video of my trip to, well, originally it was going to be a 5-day loop through Mank, Mouse, and around through the Arables, Maple, Bigger, North Tee, etc. But you'll notice that I had a major failure the first night and had to abort, and that led to one of the longer days I've had in the woods. And so I've been reassessing my gear and redoing things a little bit again to try and make myself better off for that. And so to summarize, if you haven't seen the video, I did a paddle from Kiosk into Big Thunder Lake. That's about 22 kilometers and about 4.5 kilometers of portaging. I did all single up. The day went really well. I had to spend about half an hour clearing trail because of some big trees that had come down. But overwhelmingly, it was a great day. When I got to the campsite, the first thing that went wrong was my water filter broke and no longer would work. The screen tent I brought, a new one, came with me. It tore, and even so, the black flies could get through it. And the black flies at this campsite were something else. The wildest, most aggressive group of flies I've ever seen. There were literally millions of them. And I had a screen suit I was wearing which wasn't keeping my ankles safe, and they were getting through the screen as well. So I was in, thankfully I don't itch too much with these things, but you'll see a picture here. My ankles were pretty bad. So, and then of course, in addition to that, I had forgotten some important medications I need to take, and I had put, inadvertently put half of my dinner back on the shelf at home. So it was a bit of a combination of human error and bad luck that led me to, knew I had to bail the next day because I need the medications as a minimum and the water. I don't want to drink from the lakes for 4 days. I think that's a bad idea. So anyhow, to compound everything, I ended up not getting almost any sleep at all. I had quite a day, and I still have this problem of a slightly elevated pulse rate and in the tent, and having trouble either getting to sleep or staying asleep or whatever, and it's been a challenge for me for a while now. But hopefully what's come of this may actually help me with that. So for the standpoint of bug protection, I bought the original bug suit and pants. The idea being that no bites are the only acceptable answer. And so I've been way too cavalier about bug protection in my past. And primarily this came from me mostly hiking, and so of course you're wearing, bug screens, and you're just melting, and that's how you of course spend all your day. The mistake I made was that at canoeing, you're not doing you're not hiking all day. You're hiking a bit when you portage, depending on how much you do, but nothing like hiking. So in comparison, it shouldn't be too bad, and it's worth a go considering that it keeps the bugs away. I bought a better screen tent that's 11 by 8. I'm hoping to put my own backpacking tent inside that, so that I have a screened-in shelter around my tent, where I can sit and do my cooking and relaxing and all the rest of it. So that's something else. Now, French River may not be the best place to test this because the it's pretty rocky there, and I don't know if I'll be able to rig it or not, but we'll just have to see how these sites look when I get there. I bought a motorized water filter. The problem with the B3 filter is it's fine. It's just that it's slow, and I'm, you know, going maybe with 2 liters a day or 2.5, and the problem is I need 6, and I just can't wait that long for this thing to filter it. So what I've decided to do instead is have this motorized filter in my underseat bag in the canoe, and simply make water in the canoe as we go along, as I need it. And then I don't have to carry the water on the portage. I can dump it out and make new water on the next lake or whatever, depending on what's just left. So that's sort of a way, and this to couple that with the sleeping problem, when I looked it up, they were saying that dehydration is a major factor in raising cortisol and so forth, as your body feels it's in trouble because it's not got enough water. And when you're doing this kind of thing in warmer weather, you're definitely going to be dehydrated, and not just a little bit, but a lot. And so we're going to hydrate aggressively, and we're going to see how that works with respect to improving the sleep quality, because that would be wonderful if the whole sleep thing only was improved simply by just drinking more water. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. So I've always wanted to do the French. It's a wonderful historical place, and just didn't get a chance to do it a couple of years ago when my friend did it. And my friend has got some aches and pains right now, so I'm on my own for this one, and we'll just see how it goes. So more later, folks. Thanks for coming along. So I just left Loon's Landing. Nice people there, got me set up, parked my car, and we're on our way. With the plan to go around 18 Mile Island in 3 days. Weather forecast looks really nice, and the winds are supposed to be light. Not supposed to be any rain. Famous last words. And we got about 26 to go today. 2 small portages, one coming up and one in maybe 8 or 9 kilometers, and then that's it until I get to what I hope will be a decent campsite. The North Channel is Crown land, so there are sites there. They're not maintained officially, and you don't have to pay, but you don't know what you're going to get, and it's whoever gets their first wins. Tomorrow night, I'm paddled into French River Park proper, and I have a site booked there, so that will at least I know where I'm going here. So hopefully that all works out. And haven't been in the boat since the 6th of June. So today's 26th, so it's been 3 weeks. That's probably the longest stretch since we started paddling again this spring. I was fixing to get my gear changed up with all the problems I had on the last trip, and I'm hoping that I've done so. You can see me wearing my bug suit, pants the same color. But this top is a fairly loose fitting one, and I can feel the wind blowing through it, which is really nice, and hopefully it won't be too hot. Time will tell. Well, that was a little more adventure than I had expected on that rapid. So the portage was fine. It's rocky. It gets harder as you go along, and its footing's crappy, and the put-in is pretty bad. But we figured it out. And then there's another little rapid slash swift just upstream of it that there's no portage for, and they warn you it's a boulder garden in low water. But after all the rain, I figured that wouldn't be a problem. It looked kind of less agitated on the left side, so I decided to paddle up the rapid there. I was probably getting about 1 or 2 kilometers an hour, maybe a little more with the flow, and got up that okay. And then there was a second one that didn't even look as bad in the sense of being disturbed, but I thought I'd cross over and go up the other side, which was quieter. Well, the flow there, even though there was no disturbance, was all I could do to hold my own for probably 2 or 3 minutes. All I did was stand still. What I ultimately did though was crabbed across the flow, and when you get away from the center flow, the laminar flow, then it's a little slower, and I was able to get across. But I was pretty much gassed by the time I got across. I was very surprised how fast that was moving, and I was probably paddling a water speed of the canoe somewhere around 8 kilometers an hour, because I was doing everything I could do. And so but it's all quiet now, and we got I think it's something like 7 or 8K to go before we get to the next portage, which is marked, and after that we're just straight on to the campsite. So beautiful day here in the French River. So I made my first water in the canoe. I produced about 1.3 liters. So I drank 300 mils, and then I made another liter. And the objective is to drink all of that before the next portage, which is about, I don't know, 8 or 9K to go. And going from there to maintain this hydration scheme I have that hopefully will make some difference tonight when I try to sleep. It took 7 minutes from unzipping the canoe under seat bag, unpacking the pump, getting the bottle, connecting the hoses, throwing the first 300 mils overboard, and then pumping the water from there. And the 300 mils I drank tasted like tap water. It was wonderful. So it was pretty easy is what I'm trying to say. And I think this approach is it's gonna be good for me, because hydration's a good thing no matter how you see it. But at the same time, like I said, if it helps me with the sleeping, it's going to be just gold. So hopefully that's what the situation is. But yeah, worked out really well. I'm really pleased so far. This thing supposedly has enough charges to filter, I don't know, 30 or 40 liters. And so that on a trip of even 2 weeks, you might not have to recharge it. So it's nice to know that your battery's not going to get burned up just charging the filter. So these devices today with these batteries, it's just amazing. The fan I have to fill up my air mattress, I don't have to charge that. And I guess my GPS is a little thirsty and my phone's a bit thirsty, and that could well be because I put it keeps forgetting to put it on airplane mode. But either way, the battery will get me 4 days without doing anything, and we've got the sun on it today, so hopefully that'll help.
Sure is ideal paddling conditions today. The slightest of breezes and beautiful weather. Had quite a bit of rain the last few days. It's supposed to be pretty nice for 3 or 4 days. And we're making our way on the west side of 18 Mile Island. And then we'll be turning in a little while to travel east. And that'll be our predominant direction for the rest of the day and for a good part of tomorrow, half of it anyway. The island is much longer than it is wide. I decided to, on the last trip I did it as well, I packed my lunch for day one, ready to go. I've been doing that for a while, but I always put it in my pack. And I had other stuff in the under seat bag. So what I've decided to do for this trip is I put that and the day one Gatorade in the under seat bag, so I could eat in the canoe at my convenience instead of having to stop the boat and take my pack apart and all that. And so that's what I just did, and it's wonderful. This feature I'm coming up to is called Gibraltar Rock. Pretty amazing. I would say if you look at the trees being 30 to 40 feet high, this thing has to be 100 or 150 feet. So it's a pretty spectacular feature when you come around the corner, as I did a few minutes ago. You would think with such a spectacular feature there'd be petroglyphs or pictographs, but nothing's said about it anyway. There seems to be modern ones, but that's a different thing. I'm sorry folks, but you couldn't afford the drugs to get me to paint a rock in the wilderness. amazing. You come through this area and there's forests everywhere, and suddenly you get these remarkable, huge rocks just come out of nowhere. Pretty steep. We're not going up that, that's for sure. Well, it doesn't look like things are marked, so I guess we'll just have to figure it out. But it looks like a quasi takeout here. So let's see what we can find. So we got out here right by the falls, and I'm just going to check the trail out and then back over. It doesn't look like a very long portage, and then another 12K to the campsite. So I'm going to make some water, and been pretty disciplined with that now. I've had 1.3 liters of water and 600 milliliters of Gatorade in 4 hours. We won't count the first hour because I was pretty hydrated when I got here. So that's 2 liters in 3 hours, and I was supposed to have a half a liter an hour, so I think we're doing pretty well. Well, the one thing that sure disappeared after the portage are all the cottages. I'm not saying there isn't any further up because there's maybe road access, but certainly right away here, nothing at all. Looks like there's something up there because Highway 64 is just north of here, so I'm sure there's still going to be people here and there, but pretty nice. Just under that bridge back there, there's just looks like a ATV or snowmobile bridge. I didn't expect it, but there was quite a swift under there, and I went up the right side to stay out of the middle, which was good. But as soon as it caught me, it pushed me right across, and I paddled for what I had, and I was able to make about 1 kilometer an hour headway, and then finally you could see it too. That's more like French River there, eh, with the bare rock. So I arrived at my second choice campsite tonight. The first one had no place to sleep. There was no level sites. You could sleep on the rocks, but they were so grooved that I thought that was going to be way to damage. So that's my view. And then over here is the site. And it's been a fish camp. You can see the table someone had. But what matters most for me, first, there's not too many bugs here tonight. So, and there's not enough trees to rig my sleeping screen tent for tonight. So we won't bother with that. I still have my wand. However, there's a site inside this circle of stones here that I think I can make work for my tent. So that's really good news. I'm really pleased with that. And then I can sit in this area and got a little table here for my bits and pieces. And in a few minutes, I'll pull the canoe up. So it's up in this area here too. So it's all good. It's been a good day. I haven't paddled in 3 weeks. And that was 27, less of a few hundred meters of portages. And I'm glad to be off the water. It was good. But what a wonderful place to paddle here. And with the wind was behind me for the last hour or so, which really helped for some of it. I was paddling over 7K an hour with the wind, which was great. So I'm grateful for that. And did a lot of hydrating today. So we'll have to see how that works out for tonight. But wouldn't it be wonderful if it did help? Anyhow, more later when I'm all set up. Okay, everyone. So it's 8:45 or something like that. So I'm just getting ready to do the final things and head off to bed. It's a nice little site here. I'm really happy with it, given what it could have been. And you see my tent behind there and my bits and pieces. Pretty simple, but all I'm hoping for is a good sleep. We'll see what happens. I think this is called Ash Bay. There's some cottages. There's a road that comes down to this point here, and there's 4 or 5 houses, but you barely hear them. But it's pretty nice. Weather's just perfect today. And then from this side, so the water access is pretty good to get the canoe out or to get water. It's all working out pretty easily. Wash up stuff. And then over here is my little spot. I'm just got to put the fly on and a few last minute things, and then we're ready to go. Began my trip at the lodge called Loon Landing, where they allowed me to park, and I portaged 300 odd meters down to the water to start my trip. I then crossed Dry Pine Bay to the Stony Rapids portage, marked item 2 on the map, and then paddled up through 18 Mile Bay and encountered the Gibraltar Rock at item 3. A little further along at item 4 was the Oulet Rapids, my second portage, about 100 meters. And then a fair stretch after that of straight paddling with a good following wind that got me to my campsite at item 5. The first sites were unacceptable, and the final one turned out to be pretty nice. My totals for the day were 27.5 kilometers of paddling. I did 3 portages, including the portage from the car to the water, carrying 94 pounds for a total of 630 meters. This gave me a total human-powered travel distance of 28.1 kilometers for the day, accomplished in 7 hours and 13 minutes.